Hello and welcome to another Break for Assault unboxing video. I'm Lee Parnell, recording from somewhere in the south of England. Today we'll be taking a look at the Nagmasho't. This is going to be very difficult to do, some of these pronunciations, so you're just going to put up with it. The Nagmasho't is one of the new units available in the IDF book, WW3 Israeli, and it's effectively an upgrade to the M113 infantry platoon, letting them exchange the M113s for an equal number of Nagmasho'ts. The Nagmasho't is based on the Centurion chassis and was introduced after the 1982 Lebanon conflict showed the M113 was effectively an aluminium can, and aluminium cans don't do terribly well in a city fight with RPGs. The Israelis turned back to British concept of World War II, the Kangaroo. You take a standard tank chassis, probably one that's reaching the end of its life as a tank, take the turret off, put a bungalow on top and turn it into an APC. The Israelis went one step further and actually put a lid on the thing, which was a conceivably good step that the British never quite got to. To further improve this, they then put on a fair amount of era blocks, explosive reactive armour, to make it, again, decidedly more proof versus the RPGs, as it's not like the Centurion was doing particularly well versus RPGs either. And then finally they put on a bucket of machine guns. In this case a 50 cal, a 40mm Mark 19 grenade launcher, and 2 FM mags because frankly everything's better with an FM mag. So modified, the Nagmasho't could carry 8 infantry in relative comfort and with protection against shell fragments, small arms, and thanks to era blocks, RPG rounds. The driver position remained unchanged, but the vehicle commander now sat alongside him. Engine, transmission, also remained unchanged. The vehicle concept proved success, with the first examples appearing in the mid-80s, and the Israelis turned their attention to actually making a more long-term solution by taking old T-55 hulls and producing what was called the Achzerit. I'm going to say again. The Centurions themselves would go for a further upgrade to receive a taller superstructure with more cupolas and was used more of a security vehicle towards the end of its life. In the long-term solution, the Israelis would come with a Namer, which is effectively a Macarthur with no turret and using its layout to better produce a heavy APC. All of these just basically emphasises the focus on protection. Combined with up-armoured M113s, it gives the Israeli infantry a lot of protection against certainly the kind of threats to be facing when messing around and finding out in Lebanon. Against a peer threat, those that aren't even eras going to start providing minimal protection against a spandrel, as we'll see when we go through the game stats. Right, so let's open the box up, take a look inside, and see what makes the Nagmasho't tick. Okay, so the Nagmasho't box says it contains 5 vehicles. As I've been saying on previous videos, it's interesting that it seems to be showing the plastic track and sprue, so we'll see how that looks when we open it up. I'm going to have some white metal machine guns and some resin holes. Let's crack this open. Inside we're going to have a standard little plastic tray, which I always like having these things, very handy for sorting bits out. Now, it's slightly worrying in here. Got back firm, good for doing sponging, always keep that to hand. We have our metal 50 cals. We have some FM mags and some Mark 19 grenade launchers, all white metal. We have the 5 resin holes. And as you can see straight away, they have supplied the plastic tracks, which seem to fit in almost like a push fit there. And the plastic sprues, not badly trimmed actually, need a little bit of cleaning up, but not as bad as I feared it could be. So I'll fit one of those on later. Resin's looking pretty good. I was worried how these edges would hold up in the transit, but on a quick glance, they all seem to have survived. Ooh. He said too quickly, one's missing. Okay, that needs fixing. Yeah, we'll get one of these built up and have a look at it in detail. But that's a fairly simple unboxing right there. The Nagmasho't is obviously a multimedia miniature. You've got the resin hole, plastic tracks and sprues, and then the white metal machine guns. Some of these pretty straightforward though. All we're going to do is glue the trucks into place. I'm going to change super glue in a second. And I just go slide in here, which I have found can be easier on some of the holes than the others. There you go. You get a nice, sorry, it's completely out of view on that shot. Okay, next one. Again, a bit more glue over here. I was going to slide that into place. That was a bit easier. But again, just make sure the actual tracks are in the right place. Just do a quick rock check, make sure it's all steady. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Next we're going to add on side skirts. I found it better run a little bit of glue along the lower hole part of the hole. And then we can add some polystyrene cement. I just had the top of the super glue polystyrene cement in my mouth. Oh, one thing we need to do is cut off the front tab on the side plate. That normally hooks over onto the actual. Yeah, another problem I found assembling these is that the tracks seem to like just rolling back out. You might want to just put the tracks on one evening and then go back and do the rest of this another time. However, I have a schedule to make, so I think go with it. Yeah, so one of the problems you have, because you don't have that. Yeah, see here. Yeah, see here. That's what happens. And my set's falling apart around me. Okay. Yeah, because you don't have this alignment tab at the front in place, it does mean you have nothing setting the position of the front of the actual side skirt, which is a little bit of a shame. But ultimately, not overcoming. You know, it's not exactly the end all to be all. Again, let's go put some poly cement on the actual tabs of the skirt. One of the better features they added, obviously not at any way a thing that happens on the real one, but it makes fitting the side skirt so much easier. Okay, that done. We now add on the machine guns, which is fairly straightforward. I found the machine guns just need a little bit of tidying up. They have a little bit of flash at the end of the barrels. Just a pair of side cutters quickly fixes that. But otherwise, it's going to be fairly well cast. I think the only set configuration on the guns is at the 40mm and the 50 cal at the front, and the 2 FM mags are at the back. And I've seen ones that have all FM mags. I'm not even sure how set the actual armament is on these things. And one thing to notice, these aren't remote weapon mounts, so they should really be crews manning these with open hatches. It's a little bit of a shame the kit is fully closed up. It would have been quite nice to have the actual dismounted sort of unbuttoned gunners on these 4 hatches here. But hey. There you go. One fully assembled Nagmasho't. Let's look at the Nagmasho't more first. The rest of the holes are surprisingly well detailed and pretty crisp. not sure if Battlefront switched over to CAD Sculpt at some point, but everything is very well realised in terms of the lines, especially the engine deck area. Lots of detail on the engine deck in terms of grills, and all the stowage bins are captured quite nicely. On the front hull, all the era blocks appear to be present compared to the ones on the pictures I'm seeing, along with the big ones on the side. And the machine guns look like the machine guns, which is always quite nice. You can tell the 50 cal apart from the Jimpy, or sorry, FM Mag, as is Ray's call it, and the Mark 19. The plastic butts go on well. I was a bit worried about how it's going to work. I remember way back, used to have the old resin hold Panthers with the plastic side bits, and they always be a bit of a pain. These went together pretty well. The fit does vary a little bit between model to model in terms of how tight it is. Some of them are a real interference fit. Some of them are a little bit sloppy. When you look at it from the front, I can see one's got a slightly bigger gap between the hole and the track. Might need a little bit of putty and just make it look a bit better. But for the most part, they all went together pretty well in that respect. And obviously then this nice, you then had the benefit of the tracks being a nice crisp plastic look to them, rather than metal ones that can be a bit, well, let's just face it, when the mould starts getting old, they get a bit flash and they get a bit hard to put together. Likewise, reusing the plastic skirt makes for a nice crisp feature as well. And easy assembly. Taking off the actual hook at the front does mean you've got to eyeball the fit, but it's not the hardest job in the world. You still have the rear hook to then sit onto the actual side plate and give some sort of rigidity of the installation, plus the 3 prongs that go onto the plastic bit. The machine guns are the one bit I'm worried about going forward. They're engaged by the peg. The peg is not especially deep. I can see these things getting flicked out with use over time. Probably no worse than AA machine guns than that on some other vehicles, but it's just one to watch. The other thing you have to note is that the top bazooka skirt that's mounted on the actual resin hole, like say one of mine has broke off in the packaging. Not the hardest thing to fix, but just double check it, and if it's, make sure it's something in your ability to do to fix it. Given the price of, I think, £45 a box, it's quite a hefty price for a kit. I'm guessing that's being driven by it being a mostly resin kit. Considering, a box of 5 Centurions is, when the plastic is 40 quid. Also, it will come down with recommended retail price and the like, but it is something to consider when you're buying these. I think you're only ever going to need one of these, one box of these. That'll give you enough for the HQ to ride around in, plus 1 platoon. I think equipping an entire company of mechanised infantry with Nagmasho't is probably a little extravagant in the cost. In fact, let's turn our attention now to the stat line for a second. For basically 1 point per hull, you're getting a front armour 13 going to front armour 16 vehicle with heat, and side armour 6 going to 16 against heat as well. The main tech was here top armour 2 and the era block side armour 16. Vehicle's only assault 5, but it does counter-attack on a 4+, so it can wade in as its own little attachment to try and move some enemy off the ground, supported by the infantry yourselves, who obviously also hit on 4s in the assault, but will counter-attack on 3s. The main benefit of the vehicles obviously could be covering the ground, certainly against that last closing the distance into RPG range for the assault. That's where that era block armour is really going to come into. 16 versus an anti-tank 21 Spandrel is a little dicier. You're still going to cover ground and suppress enemy missile teams like BMPs or even dismounted spigots, which I guess is helping with that is the sheer amount of machine gun fire you got. Now obviously in Team Yankee rules you can fire all your machine guns. You're going to get 5 shots from the 40mm grenade launcher, 1 shot from the 50 cal, and then 2 times 2 7.62 machine guns. I'm going to stress here, it says 2 times 7.62 machine guns and it says rate of fire 2. So my presumption here is effectively each of those is putting out 2 shots to give you the total amount of fire. You've also got the option of mounting the Dragon missile on when it's being carried around and firing a Dragon off. I'm not sure how often you want to do that. It's not exactly something that's going to go toe-to-toe with a tank, but on the other hand, it's a lot better place doing it than an M113 is. Carriage capacity is the same as M113 at passenger free, so again, it's like a 1-for-1 replacement of the M113. Obviously, covers ground a little bit slower than an M113, but it is going to cross better on a cross 2. I do think it's going to be worth having one M113 unit mounted in these. if you're either having these accompany a tank unit with the expectation that they are going to assault and clear ground, as opposed to holding a neutral objective or your own objective, or in a mechanized company having one platoon and a HQ mounted up if you're intending to go for an aggressive maneuver stance. If you're intending to go defensive or the unit is defensive, I'd probably just settle for the up-armoured M113s or even just basic M113s. It's effectively 4 points to upgrade a unit have the Nagmasho't, and 4 points, that's a recce unit such as the Rabbi unit, or it's going to be most of an M113 tow unit or a 8mm mortar unit. You have to give it some capability to have these guys mounted up, and if you want the whole company mounted up, that's a lot of points you're dropping there. I don't think you need that necessarily. I think you just want one mounted unit to really leave away and get the ground first, and have the following units come up on the M113s. So, I think, like I say, most Israeli players are going to look at this box. I think it's going to be a worthwhile addition of one of these boxes. I think more than that is probably over-egging the pudding. But an aggressive infantry player will probably be looking at this going, ha, no, all these mounted up. And I can't disagree too much if that's your playstyle. It's kind of a shame there's no rule like the Ram Kangaroos get for dismounting as part of the sort of moving the contact. Looking at the hatch size, I'm guessing that's probably a practical limitation here. It's not like a big turret ring hole that you have on a sort of a Ram Kangaroo. They are confined hatches, and dismounting quickly is probably not the ideal. I know it's one of the things that gets mentioned frequently is the difficulty, and the poor placing of the actual hull hatches is not exactly a great thing for doing that assault. At that point, you're basically looking at a armoured chassis with a lot of firepower to support the infantry once it gets close up into RPG range. And for that, this is an ideal proposition of getting those guys through that last 12 inches of RPG fire to close contact. Anyway, as always, if you disagree, then leave your comments below. I will like and subscribe. There'll be more unboxing videos coming. I have another 2 to do of the Megak 6 and the RBY. So stay tuned and they'll follow shortly. As always, have fun. Bye.